Live and once again from my chilly office. I thought I'd move back here today because we got my lamp fixed and we've had the furnace on for a while, so it's not warm in here, but it's getting that way. Uh, so welcome to Saturday morning cartoons, and I hope you will make a concerted effort to have fun this weekend, and indeed a concerted effort to have fun no matter what happens, uh, and what's going on in the world and in the environment around you. And when I told Constance about what I was planning on doing for Saturday morning cartoons, uh, she she said, "Well, that's kind of just what I was thinking about." And so I don't. She's out in the hallway there. I don't know if she's going to pop in today because today's the day she goes out on her bicycle and and it is a beautiful day, although it's insanely cold. I mean, cold for us old sissy farts from Southern California. Uh, anyway, yesterday I was talking about oracles, and I discussed a couple of my seven secrets of fortune telling uh, with you yesterday, and one of them being that the question is more important than the answer. That if the question is truly the object of the querent's question, if it truly is what they want to know, and not, I mean, get to the core of that. I often ask, why do you want to get this job? Okay, and not that, am I going to get this job? Is this job right for me? I really don't like questions like, is it right for me? Is this the right decision to make? Right? What do you mean? Right for who? Right for the world? Right for the environment? Right for the universe? Right for your own peace of mind? Right for your own sense of fulfillment? Right? Okay. Once we start to go, well, I want this job because what I really want is da da da, what the job will mean to me. And then I'll say, well, why is that important? You know? And after a while, it doesn't take long to get at the core of what this divination is really about. And once we hit that, they already somewhere inside themselves know what the right answer is. The question becomes the answer. But you have to sort of get into that divinatory mist, okay, to arrive at that place where the answer comes. Uh, the Like I said yesterday, I read tarot cards for people, or have tarot consultations over the phone or Facebook or Zoom, or I used to do Skype too and things like that, so we can see the cards and talk about it and stuff. But uh, I don't usually, no, I never do magic for other people. At least not, hey, will you curse my friend, or hey, will you cause so and so to? No, no. You Google around, you'll find plenty of people to take your money to do that. Okay, uh, good luck. But uh, about 11 months ago, I shared with you a story from my book, Low Magic, from a chapter called The Rabbi's Dilemma. And this is a number of years ago. I was still working at C.B. Richard Ellis uh, in the accounting department. Mostly I just wrote books there. Okay. Uh, but anyway, it was from a serious rabbi in in New York, who was quite an important figure in the Jewish community where he was from. Just out of the blue, he'd read. I just believe the book on Aleister Crowley's Illustrated Goetia. Okay, and he had a feeling that I could, or he was under the impression I could do a magical uh, spell or evoke. He said evoke an evil spirit is what he said. Um, to cause his daughter-in-law to become pregnant, his son's wife, because they were having difficulty having a child. And I told him, I don't do stuff like that, sorry. Um, but he was really, really insistent. And I told him flat out that I don't evoke Goetic spirits for that. To me, it's not on their menu of things they do for me. Uh, but he was so terribly insistent and offered to pay my flight out to New York and reward me financially and stuff. And it's really tempting because I'm always just broke, and we're just always just uh, our head is barely above water at all times throughout our whole marriage, and but I wasn't even tempted to do that. And finally, I got an idea that it would be that if I was to do anything, okay, I would throw the I Ching to get some advice on how these individuals involved in the question should behave. Okay, and this is where Constance came in this morning and just said it in so many words that there's things we can't control. At least there's things we can't directly control. The environment around us. Okay. Great geopolitical forces. There's only so much we can do to affect forces like that. There's very little we can do to affect directly, immediately, the climate catastrophe. There's very little we can do if all of a sudden the fabric of space and gravity would there's very little we can do. And the I Ching's comments on this constantly changing environment around us, their comments are aimed at what the superior man would do in that case. Old Chinese, it'd be the superior man. Okay, if you can't control this particular situation, how would you, if you were a superior person, how would you behave in that situation? How would you be in sync with the great Tao? And that's the best answer you could get. Okay. Not so much am I going to foresee the future with this, or, is one way. How to behave in the situation you can't control. And well, anyway, I wrote the rabbi back and told him that I would consult my spirits. Okay, and that wasn't a lie. I was going to consult the I Ching. Now, I'm not going to tell the whole story. It has a happy ending. Okay, let's just say that. But there is a quick little review of how I interpreted the consult I Ching throw that I got as it would apply to his situation. And I thought that today, just a quick review of how that unfolded and how I interpreted the literal, almost like fortune cookie-ish answers that my I Ching throw got, and allowed me to at least advise the rabbi on what's going on and how it could be achieved. Okay, okay, a I Ching hexagram. Maybe I'll just draw you a little picture here. Okay, 1, 2. I don't know which hexagram this is, but if you want a real good book on the I Ching, get Benny Bill Wen's new I Ching book. Okay. But anyway, there's like a hexagram. You see broken lines and unbroken lines. Okay, and they're stacked up there. And each of those lines has a little meaning and everything else. And when they're put all together, they have a general meaning. And when they're considered in pairs, the bottom 3 and the top 3, those trigrams, they each have things too. And there is usually, believe it or not, 1 or 2 of those, or more. It could be all 6. It could not be any of them. Are considered old. In other words, they're getting ready to move into their opposites. And so you've got either a broken line or an unbroken line. Then you got an old broken line that's getting ready to turn into an unbroken line. And you got a old broken line that's getting ready to turn into that. And those are called moving lines. Okay. Each of the 6 lines of the basic hexagram is either an unbroken line, male or yang, or a broken line, female, yin. There are 64 ways, 64 possible ways to combine the 6 lines that are either broken or unbroken. 64, 8 times 8, which is mercurial. It's the square of, just like Thoth is Mercury. Okay. I digress. To the ancient Chinese sages who developed the system, these 64 different hexagrams presented to their minds archetypal images that in turn suggest ideas, situations, even moral commentaries on historical, social, political, and personal matters. These ideas are not static. Here we go. Indeed, like everything in our objective reality, the hexagrams are in a constant state of change. That's why the I Ching is called a book of changes, okay? Consequently, depending upon the nature of the answer, any one of the 6 lines of any given hexagram may be in the process of changing or moving into its opposite. In other words, each line of the hexagram can be one of 4 varieties, which I just showed you there. The text of the I Ching provides specific commentaries for each hexagram and for each of the moving lines of the hexagram. For the reader who may feel hopelessly confused at this point, let me just briefly summarize. While it's possible using the traditional Yarrow stock method, which I use, to arrive at a hexagram containing no moving lines at all, in most cases, the person asking the question receives an answer in 3 stages. The primary hexagram and its commentary that usually paints a picture of the conditions surrounding the present situation. Then there's a commentary or commentaries on the moving lines, which usually points to the aspect of the situation that is currently changing or is about to change. And when that moving line or those moving lines change, they create a whole nother hexagram. So the new hexagram and its commentary that's formed when the moving line or lines have changed and moved into their opposites. This part of the answer is usually the most suggestive of what the future might hold. Okay. After I told the rabbi I'd consult with my spirits, I did. There's a little classic I Ching ceremony. I usually do it sitting on the floor. There's incense and bowing and prostrations, and then rotating the yarrow stalks. There's 50 of them at first, rotating them in the incense smoke while I ask the question. And now my question was, what is preventing David and Sarah? That's the names I use for them. What is preventing David and Sarah from conceiving a child? And that's okay. And then you remove one of those sticks, leaving 49. 7 times 7. And then you manipulate those 49 yarrow stalks in a procedure that it takes me about 15 minutes to generate a full hexagram, because I'm a clumsy white guy, okay? To my great relief, the I Ching answered my question in a remarkably clear manner. It came as the classic 3-part answer made up of the primary hexagram, which was number 9. Okay, that's what it looked like. And there was the moving line there. Notice they're almost all unbroken lines, except that one fourth from the bottom, and that was a moving line. So once that moving line changes, it'll change into that one, all male, okay? Number 1, the creative. So the primary hexagram, number 9, which is called the taming power of the small. Don't get naughty there. With the moving line in the 4th place, they count from the bottom, which transforms the primary hexagram into hexagram 1, which is called the creative. Now, it doesn't take a seer to see that the ultimate answer to my question, the 3rd and final step of the process, was hexagram 1, the most male of all the hexagrams. Oh, I forgot to add that the rabbi's concerned. He just didn't want his daughter-in-law to become pregnant and have a child. It needed to be a boy. He was very insistent on that. That being the case, it was pretty clear to me that David and Sarah would indeed succeed in becoming parents, and that it was highly likely the firstborn would be a boy. Furthermore, the appearance of the hexagram 1 as the third and final part of the answer seemed to suggest that the eventual birth of this particular child would be a particularly profound event. Okay. Now, this is the example of my crude process of interpretation. And I quote from the I Ching. When an individual draws this oracle, it means that success will come to him from the primal depths of the universe. Now, that was a comment on that third message, the creative. Okay. This, however, did not answer the question of what was currently preventing David and Sarah from conceiving and bringing forth this child, and what change would occur to make it happen. So, in other words, how does a superior man, behave in this situation? Looking back at the first part of the answer, hexagram 9, the taming power of the small, we see that most of the ingredients for a successful conception, pregnancy, and birth, dense clouds, are in place, but there was yet no rain. That's how it was termed. The taming power, quoting, the taming power of the small has success. Dense clouds, no rain from our western region. The text continues at length, and these are a few of the highlights that jumped out at me. Quote, hence the image of many clouds, promising moisture and blessing to the land, although as yet no rain falls. Only through the small means of friendly persuasion can we exert any influence. To carry out our purpose, we need firm determination within a gentleness and adaptability in external relations. Gentleness and adaptability in external relations. Okay. The commentary on the moving line, the fourth line from the bottom, the line that when changes turns into that hexagram number 1, the creative. If you are sincere, blood vanishes and fear gives way. No blame. Unquote. Now, I'm certainly not a marriage counselor, and I couldn't say for sure if David or Sarah was going to need to learn a lesson in gentleness and adaptability in external relations. But it sure sounded to me that there was the real presence of fear in the relationship, and somebody was not exceeding by romantic delicacy. In any case, if David had inherited even, and here I'm making a moral judgment here, okay, but hey, I'm human. In any case, if David had inherited a small measure of his father's somber insensitivity and inflexibility, and I'm not exaggerating there, Sarah might be under a lot of emotional pressure, perhaps even to prevent conception. Perhaps a small change in David's attitude or behavior could neutralize his anxiety and her fears long enough to solve this problem. The I Ching's commentary on the image seemed to agree. Quote, the wind drives across heaven. the image of the taming power of the small. Thus, the superior man refines the outward aspect of his nature. Are you beginning to see my point? Okay, that was enough for me. My spirits had spoken. I was confident Sarah and David would have a son, and that Ezriel is what I call him here, would be a grandfather. And that the ageless traditions of that East Coast fairy tale community would go on at least one generation more. If David could just become, quote, a superior man, and, quote, refine the outward aspect of his nature, in bed, perhaps. I wrote Ezriel. I told him I'd consulted with my spirits and that I was assured a man-child would be born to David and Sarah if David made the effort to be gentle and charming to Sarah prior to making love. Then I really stuck my neck out, and here is where the very shaky, uncertain power of the diviner's own oracular possession. Let's see. Then I really stuck my neck out, and I don't know why I did it, but I did it, and added, the child will be conceived in the moment they lie laughing in each other's arms. To tell you the truth, I don't know why I added that last part. It just came to me like I was momentarily possessed by some Fiddler on the Roof type character. I immediately got an email back thanking for my help, but no other comments. I then worried my answer was too corny or personal or unmagical, or perhaps too Fiddler on the Roofish to be taken seriously. After 60 days, or about 60 days later, I received a very upbeat message informing me that Sarah was pregnant, that everyone was hoping for the best. 6 months after that, I received an email from the rabbi proudly announcing the birth of his grandson and a simple note, thank you for your efforts. But the point, I've shared that story with you many times. The point I'm trying to make here is the most that can be hoped for if you're hoping for some kind of predictive Nostradamus, in this month this will happen, and this month this will happen, and Cleopatra will just have an unfortunate encounter with a snake, or so. Yeah, if you're looking for that, okay, good luck. But if you're using your divinatory powers, as Crowley suggests, he actually plants the mastery of divination on one of the lower paths on the tree of life. This level of consciousness is good for that kind of magical discernment. Think about the aspect of, okay, ultimately, the Tao is, in a sense, the way things are, and there's only certain aspects of the way things are that's your job to contribute to, or to affect changes in the way things are. And make no mistake, you wouldn't even be breathing air looking at me here on YouTube or Facebook unless there was something that only you could do to the way things are. Only you can do it. If there wasn't something left undone in the way things are, you wouldn't be here. So take that that one little phrase that keeps repeating over and over in the I Ching. Thus, the superior man, da 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 da. Thus, the superior man. And yes, it's Chinese. That means everybody. Okay. Uh, anyway, that's my Saturday morning cartoons, and I hope that was helpful. And tomorrow will be Sunday school, and I'll try not to be too preachy. I'll get out my felt board and talk about Abraham. Or maybe I'll steer clear of Abraham. He's been, somebody once said, if you could go back in time and kill somebody to change the future for the better, who would that be? And of course, that's an absurd question, for many reasons. But I thought, now what if Abraham would have, caught cold and died as a baby? Well, how would this situation occur? And then I had to remember that maybe the character as a historical objective character might not have never existed anyway. Anyway, that's it for today. Have a great weekend, everybody. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under well.